remember a specific moment, but I mean, the thing about advanced course that is so powerful is that I
Yeah.
think that like everybody has that experience of like they just what
Yeah.
they see as possible changes. And I think
Mhm.
it's like, so when you were talking about how you have a lower goal and I have a higher goal, and I was thinking usually we end up hitting right between our goals.
Yeah.
But I think that's really worth acknowledging because, and that's why we've been doing so much work, and some of which has been kind of triggering together on getting on the same page with goals. Because, and it's the same as your team. Like if you and your partner are going for different goals, you're not going to hit the really high goal until you're both actually going for it. And it takes something, just going for a goal like that, whether you hit it or not, is a big personal development accomplishment. But then your team too, right? We're growing this really high performance team. We're scaling a business to $10 million really, really fast. And that requires every new person we bring on, especially in the sales department, but everywhere, to really be willing to go for big goals all the time, to constantly be willing to go for things they've never even come close to in the past. And we've talked about this on the show before, how your team is a mirror to you. So doing this work and really looking at what gets triggered when you set high goals and dealing with that is what you need to have a team that is willing to go for high goals too.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk a little bit about the triggers and like what you come up against. So I'll just share, a quick story. So we recently came out of a launch, and launches can be very tiring. It's just a lot of work in a condensed amount of time because that's where you produce a lot of your sales. And long story short is like the day after the launch, we're kind of doing spillover sales, and Margy asked me like, okay, what results are you causing today? How many sales are you closing? And I said 3. And she was like, how about 6? And that moment was so triggering for me because she just said like, okay, go for more than that. Like you can do more than that. And of course, the trigger and what I heard was you didn't do good enough. And that is I see that all the time, right? In my team, like in my sales team, right? When I'm like, okay, you did this, like you need to do more. And they get all triggered, like, you don't think I'm doing good enough. And then I see it right there in myself, right? That trigger of, and I was like, but that's not what she said, but that's what I heard. So Margy, can you share from your perspective that trigger and that moment?
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing that I've been working on, like in my own personal development journey with our mentors and stuff. And this is this like drive to really go big and hold people accountable, but then this fear of triggering people because it's a lot, right? Like when you hold somebody accountable in a loving way, I'm not talking about like yelling at people,
She had
but
lots of emojis in her message. So there was
yeah, soften that up with some hearts, people. But like, I realized that, growing to 10 million fast is really cool because it takes such different things to get to that point than it took for us to get to, we did like $2.5 million in 2020. So what it took to get to 2.5 and what it takes to get to 10 are so different. And it's such an energetic game. And one thing that I saw reflected in us missing our goals was my unwillingness to really like be direct with people, be direct with Jess, be direct with the team, and hold them accountable when they didn't want to be held accountable because it triggers people. And it's not, I mean, I am pretty empathetic. So on the one hand, I don't like triggering people because it's like when they get upset, I feel upset. And then there's this selfish aspect of it, not wanting to deal with triggered people because it's like, I'm just trying to have a nice day, like, but it's been such a cool breakthrough. And it helps obviously that Jess has done a lot of personal development and we have a lot of trust. And so I can feel safe, saying stuff, even if it's going to trigger her, because I know she's committed to personal growth too. So she's not just going to like shut down or like run for the hills. So that's very helpful. But yeah, it's been interesting to hold people accountable because that really is going for really big goals and creating these visions that are so beyond what people maybe thought was possible for them or would have even gone for themselves is something I'm passionate about and I love doing. And I realized that we couldn't get to 10 million if any of us were holding back on our gifts and who we really are. And I was holding back on my aggressive vision casting for these high goals because it seemed like a lot to ask. And it seemed like it would upset people or they would feel like I was saying they weren't doing a good enough job. So that was something that I had to get past, of like owning other people's triggers and not doing that anymore. And that's been very transformational.